Hey there, Cancer. Welcome to your general energy reading for December 15th through the 22nd. As you can see, I'm doing a very specific spread here. Each of the cards has a very deliberate and focused intention in terms of what the energy is representing from the card. This is for Cancer, Sun, Moon, Venus, and Rising signs. Crosswatchers, you're welcome to watch this video, but just know that I am focusing very much in on the sign and aspects of the sign. However, you might find that this reading resonates for you personally. And the reason for that is because as I'm sitting down to do this reading, I'm focusing in on the energy of the people who will watch the video. So if you clicked through on this hoping to cross-watch for a Cancer, just keep in mind, most likely what would happen is that you would just resonate with this reading if you were drawn to it, okay? But energies can be reversed in general readings, so take what resonates, leave the rest. Don't try to force anything to fit here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spend some time, now that I've been chatting with you guys. I hope that you've been doing well, having a good December so far. I'm going to give this another shuffle and then some cuts, and then I'll pull the card off the bottom of the deck when I feel like the deck is ready. And that will be your overall energy card. Okay. Here we have the overall energy. And then there are two other spots here where you're going to get oracle cards. We'll start with one. That will be the advice or guidance for you as you're going into this time period. And the second card we'll read at the end. And that will represent the energy towards the end of this time period for this reading. I'm going to pull right off the bottom and off the top. Okay, Cancer, we're ready to dive into your reading here. Kicking things off, we have energy and guidance. Let me turn this off for you guys. Now you can see. So energy and guidance kicking off this first part, December 15th through the 22nd. I create mindful moments throughout the day, reminding myself that I am love and miracles are natural. Okay. Cancer, I love this vibe for you guys because I feel like this is such a Cancer card. I think that your sign is so awesome to me because of the water signs. I feel like Cancer is a mix of Scorpio and Pisces, where Scorpio can get very, very dark and moody and serious and intense, and Pisces can be a little bit, too optimistic to the point that they're just consistently being heartbroken. Cancer, I feel like you are a mix of those two things. You're able to come out of the dark and moody aspects much faster than Scorpio does, and you don't have the same innocence and I guess like hopefulness that Pisces can sometimes get handicapped by. So this to me feels very much like your energy. I like this here because creating mindful moments throughout the day, I think that's just that place of, if you know, the little crab going in and like hiding out for a little bit. You are awesome at doing that and taking the time that you need to center yourself and get your thoughts in order. It's something that Cancers definitely do prioritize. But reminding yourself that you are love. You're such a loving sign. Your love is so dependable and loyal and consistent. And miracles are natural. So if you've been in a situation, I do feel this just energetically for a lot of you guys, like I feel a little bit of it's not a depression, but it's a sadness around thinking that, maybe life can't be as magical as you think it is, or that you think it could be. But remember, that is actually something that's true. We have a lot of control over the type of life that we're manifesting. And so being in a place where you are getting your energy focused, I'm all for that. This has been something that's been coming out in most of the readings as well. So I think just as people are, as a collective, as we're trying to close out energy and we're realizing, a month is ending, a year is ending, a decade is ending, we're really in a place of trying to sort through things and think about what we're going to take forward with us and what we're not. So I think this is a really awesome place for you guys to be. Now let's take a look at what's in your way of accomplishing this. You have the Father of Wands. This would be the King of Wands. It's come out reversed here. Now the King of Wands is a very ruthless type of energy. It is someone that is very demanding. They have very high expectations. They can be very critical. This also represents an energy of someone who is non-committal, is just out doing what they want, just impulsively going from one person to the next without a lot of concern of, what that might do to the other person. They're very focused on self. Now, For some of you Cancers, I do just have to say that, this represents the energy that you've been in. Not necessarily for all of you. For those of you who don't resonate with that, then either you're not ready to see it yet, which is fine, or for you, this would just represent the energy of another person who had that vibe that I just described. Regardless whether this is another person or yourself, this is truly the thing that's getting in your way. Okay, so if you have been in a situation where you have not necessarily been thinking about the consequences of your actions or your behavior, or what that might do to other people, if you've been burning bridges, if you've been in sort of a self sabotage type of energy, then you have to shift out of that because it's really blocking you and causing a lot of problems. Now, if you've dealt with someone who's like that, then you have to figure out how to remove your energy and no longer be tied up in that because you're stuck in it. So it's blocking you. Let's see what's on your mind here. You have the Hierophant coming out. It's coming out up right here. Very interesting energy for, where your mind is, Cancer. The Hierophant represents a couple of different things. On one level, it can just represent spiritual wisdom or study. So it could be that you're actually thinking about, you know, looking at spirituality in a different way. You might be exploring things. For a lot of you watching, potentially, like this might be one of the first tarot readings that you've watched on YouTube, and you just felt like you needed to check it out, right? So you're being pulled in, and you're studying, and you're listening in that arena. Your mind is focused on spirituality. Now, the other thing with the Hierophant that I do want to mention is that it represents doing things in a way that's fairly traditional. So on one level, that might mean, what is commonly accepted in society. But on a more personal level, it can represent getting back into a routine that feels familiar to you. Okay, so what I'm getting energetically here is, if you think back to parts of your life, times in your life when you were the happiest, what's probably there is a lot of routine. You were probably like going to the gym regularly, or meeting up with friends once a week for some sort of thing after work, or maybe you had much more of a routine and stability. The more you can get back into that, whatever that, like, the way things typically are with you, the way things usually are, I think your mind is just reflecting upon that as well. Let's take a look at your heart. So coming out here, you have the Nine of Cups reversed. Well, this is a troubled little heart, I have to tell you. The Nine of Cups, when it's reversed, in a way, I'm going to start positively here with this card. In a way, the Nine of Cups reversed, it can represent just being happy inside, like an internal type of happiness. Maybe you don't necessarily have, like, another person, you don't have a relationship, you don't have, an intense type of love, but you're happy inside. You realize that you have enough, you have what you need, you're content for now. It can represent that. What I'm getting, though, is there's a notion here with the Nine of Cups that can represent overdoing it. Like indulging yourself in a way that isn't healthy. And it's interesting with your heart showing this card, because Cancer, what I feel you're realizing is that you've let your heart kind of run away from you in situations with people. And it can often happen with water signs where we get almost addicted to the process of falling for people, falling in love with people, developing feelings for people. And what can come along with that very often is, you have that first big fight, and then you make up. And then sometimes water signs can become addicted to that notion of making up. And what happens then, unfortunately, is that we will create situations where there are fights, so that we get to have that feeling and that sensation of making up and surviving that turmoil. And then we just start creating more and more turmoil and conflict because we've become addicted to how it feels when things turn out okay, and we have the big talk, and we make up and things feel good again, things feel new. And then what happens is that we can start to overindulge that need to have that feeling of surviving something. And we test and we test and we put the relationship through the ringer, and then eventually we don't bounce back from it anymore. And I think, Cancer, for some of you, you're realizing this in your heart. You're feeling this internally, that that feeling, how good it felt to have an issue come up with someone, and then ultimately for that relationship to survive it. It gives you a certain amount of security. It makes you feel stable with that person. But we can't continuously create those conflicts and create those situations to make sure that person's still going to stay, because eventually we can cause damage that we can't undo. Okay, let's take a look at what is guiding you this week. You have the Two of Wands coming out reversed. Very interesting, because the Two of Wands reversed, it can represent, again, I'm gonna use this with the context of you're being guided here. Okay, so one of the things that you might be guided is around figuring out internally, aligning within yourself what you really want in life, what your own goals are, what are the types of choices or decisions that you would like to be making in 2020. Okay, so getting very clear about that. That's part of what this can represent. The other thing that I feel is guiding you a little bit here, Cancer, is learning to be okay with the unknown. The Two of Wands reversed can represent having a fear of the unknown, of getting very anxious and upset when we aren't sure what might happen, and often creating in our minds worst case scenario and trying to prepare ourselves for the worst. I feel like part of what's guiding you here is the universe really trying to guide you to remember that miracles are natural. They are things that can just happen. Okay, so keeping that in mind, I think, is really important for you. Okay, and letting go of this notion of just because you don't know what's coming, just because you don't know what might be like around the bend, that's okay, because it could be something that's really good. It could be something that's really awesome. Okay, so now we can take a look here at the overall energy for this week. We have Temperance here. It's come out reversed. I think this actually makes sense for me in terms of the overall energy, though, because when Temperance is in reverse, it's really about things just being out of balance, needing to realign things, reprioritize things, life feeling very extreme, feeling excessive. I think that this fits for this week, though, because so much of what needs to be dealt with and what needs to be sorted through is unraveling some of the intensity that's been going on, unraveling some of the painful stuff, actually bringing that stuff to the surface and dealing with it. And in those moments, we're going to feel out of balance. We're going to feel out of whack when we're dealing with those heavier things, because they're disruptive to us. They're disruptive to our energy. They take a lot of energy out of us to try to process them. So I do feel like, for this week, this might be a heavier week for you, Cancer, but there is lots of potential here for good. So doing this work and dealing with these things and, facing them and coming to terms with them is good. But I do feel this week is probably going to feel a little bit out of whack, and you'll feel a little bit off kilter. But just try to stick with it, try to work through it. And hopefully as we get to the other side here, we'll start to see that energy lighten up a little bit. So let's take a look at what's going to heal for you this week. You have the Ace of Swords coming out reversed here. Now, the Ace of Swords reversed represents a place in which perhaps we had clouded judgment, or we need to think about a situation differently. It can also be representative of us having insight finally internally in our mind that gives us clarity around a situation, really having our minds clear about something. So it's very interesting because, Cancer is coming to a place where you realize that perhaps your judgment has been clouded about certain people. Perhaps your judgment has been clouded just in terms of your life, or decisions that you've been making, or whatever it is. You getting to a place in which that heals, and you reconnect to being able to trust your judgment and really being focused mentally on creating good and success and positivity in your life. This is a really awesome energy for you. So again, heavy stuff over here, but if you work through it, if you stick with it, then it leads you to a good place. Let's take a look at the lesson that you learn. So you have the Father of Cups is the King of Cups coming out reversed here. Now the King of Cups, when it's reversed, this would be really moody type of energy. So it's your emotions and your feelings being all over the place, sort of jumping from one extreme to the other. Jealousy would be a component of this. This also represents situations in which we are either being emotionally manipulative, or we are being emotionally manipulated by someone else. I do feel like for you, Cancer, what I'm getting energetically here is it's both of those, of realizing that yes, there have been people who have been able to emotionally manipulate you, and it doesn't feel good when someone does that. But I think what also comes with that is an understanding that sometimes you can be guilty of the same, and you can utilize your abilities to get into and tap into someone's feelings, into someone's emotions, and really understand them. That sometimes you know how to manipulate that connection so that you can avoid dealing with a situation, or you can avoid dealing with a conflict, or avoid having to deal with something that isn't working. It's a defense mechanism that you have. But I think you're making the connection that even though you do this from a place not necessarily to be to truly be manipulative, you're actually doing it from a place of trying to protect yourself and make yourself feel safe, like you don't have to deal with something when you're not ready. But you're realizing that regardless of your motivation behind it, because you are now realizing that other people have emotionally manipulated you, you're developing an awareness of when you do it yourself, and you're realizing that, well, even though for me I'm not trying to manipulate this person, I'm trying to give myself space and make myself feel safe and feel like I can have time to think about this before I have to talk about it or deal with it. Regardless of my motivation, I am still manipulating a connection I have with this person for my own means. And so I need to figure out how to ask for the space I need, ask for the time that I need in a way that's also respectful to the other person. Okay, that really feels like the lesson learned here from the energy of the card. Now, where are you going to gain clarity during this week? You have the Star card, which has come out reversed. So let's talk about the Star card reversed first. This represents a place of disconnection. It's where we no longer have faith in things. We're very distrustful. There's a lot of despair, heavy emotion around it. Okay, I think Cancer, what this card's representing here is you're gonna gain clarity into how to deal with those feelings, how to deal with that sense of distrust, how to deal with not having faith in certain people or in certain situations. You're just going to get clarity around it. And for some of you, that might be that you get very clear understanding that it's time to cut some people out. For others of you, you might just start to see patterns in relationships and realize that there are things that are consistently happening in relationships because they're connected to lessons that you need to learn, or like karmic debts that you're paying off, or situations where there are cycles and you just start to see them and you start to become aware of them. That's good. That's a good space to be in because it allows you to start to break free of it, and right, and to clear some of the energy. So getting clarity there, I'm happy. So far, so good. All right, what to take with you from this week? You have the Two of Pentacles here. It's come out reversed. So the Two of Pentacles, when it's reversed, a couple of things. One, it can just mean that you're overcommitted in some way and you need to reprioritize. So that could mean just in terms of where you're putting your efforts and energy, meaning, am I spending more of my time being negative versus positive, and needing to realign that and think differently about that. It could be that you're over investing in a relationship or a person that's not returning that to you, that isn't giving you the same amount that you're giving, and needing to reprioritize the amount of energy and effort that you're putting into that. Okay. But what to take with you is realizing that you can't have things that are not in balance, right? So you really have to look at situations and ask yourself, am I giving this too much energy? Am I giving this too much emotion? Is this impacting my life too intensely? Is this relationship paying out? Does it seem fair? Is it balanced? Can I depend on them? Those are the types of questions to take with you as you clear out this energy for the week. That's really what's going to set you up for success moving into that last week of December. Okay, last card here. We're going to take a look at the final advice or guidance. So it says, I let go of the shadow of the past by seeing someone for the first time with the eyes of love. Okay, so Cancers, going into the end of the week, this thinking through of a situation may well lead you to wondering if there is someone to whom you wish to extend an offer, give another chance, hope that you can get another chance. It could be a situation in which a connection, whether a friendship or relationship, has been, severed. where there's been time and distance without communication. And this shift within you of letting go of some of this pain is starting to think differently about how you're going to go about life moving forward, and who's coming with you, who's not. um, it could very well be that you start to see a situation differently, and there's a curiosity there about whether it was the best decision to allow a person or a situation to come to a close. So very interesting energy. I'll be super curious to see what happens next week. But yeah, Cancer, that is your reading for December 15th through the 22nd. If you're still with me and you love this video, please take a moment to give it a thumbs up. Go into the comments, hang out with each other, say hello, get to know the other Cancers who are here on the channel. And I'll put the links to the 2 videos that I've done for your signs here up on the screen. And you can just click through if you haven't seen those. You can watch week 1 or week 2. And I'll be back next week with the final reading for Cancer for December, for 2019, and for this decade as we move into 2020, which is crazy. So Cancers, thank you so much for hanging out. It was fun being with you. I'll see you next week.